Hello, my name is Tanisha Moore, and tonight I'm going to be giving a webinar about how to plan a successful event. This is a photo of myself. I'm a public relations professional. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm also a graduate student at Full Sail University. In order to have a successful event, I believe these are the three elements you need to begin with. First, you need to have a leader. You need to assign a leader within your group. And you also need a good team in order to make your event successful. And you also need a efficient plan and also a checklist to have. Now, when assigning your team, you need to delegate responsibilities. No matter the size of the team, you always want to delegate the responsibilities of what they need to be doing. Having one person in charge of every detail, that usually doesn't work out well, but whenever possible, you let the people take control of the areas they most enjoy. The more someone enjoys their responsibility, the more likely they'll carry out their responsibility with success. Also, when making your checklist, you also need to do a step-by-step guide for your team, and also a guide for organizing and executing for the big day. For your plan, you need to know the date of the event, the name of the event, the purpose of the event, the start and end time of the event, the amount of people that will be attending your event, the room preference that the client wants, and also the event type. You also need to know the type of food, drinks, or if the client wants alcohol to be served at their event. You also need to know payment information. After this, you need to develop a budget. This will provide a financial blueprint for the event. The budget should be specific. It should also include sponsorship, ticket sales, and donations. Also, as well as expenses such as printing, permits, insurance, the food, supplies, and also security if your event may need security. You should also keep records of your budget, all of the spending you've been doing, keep receipts. You should also keep track of the income that you've been receiving from the client if you need extra money. If your event requires a speaker, you may also need to book them ahead of time just in case they're busy. Now we get on to the basics. Who should you invite to the event? Suggesting a target audience should be one of the first thing you do when planning. If you have people that don't have common interests at your event, the event will probably not end up being successful. You need to sit down with your team and with your team and the client, and clearly define who the target audience is. From this, all other decisions will usually fall into place in terms of the format of the event, the content, prices, and also the location. This approach will help you stay focused on achieving the goals that you have for the event, and also allowing you to helping your vision not become too broad or have you thinking outside of your means of what the client has in mind. You also need to think about how you're going to contact this audience. Today's age, we have social media, so that's a way to save money on having to spend money on expensive invites or mailing them, the postal fees for having the invites mailed. You can just create an event on a social network and have your guests go from there. You can also stay in contact with your audience on social media. You can use hashtags on Twitter or just have a presence online to let the public know about the event and when the event is going to be held. In order to build interest on your event, you can hold a Google Hangout or a Twitter chat a few weeks before the event. This is another way to get your audience involved. And also, in order to promote the event, again, you can use the hashtags, and you can also create YouTube videos promoting the event, and you can have local bloggers in your area blog about the event. This will also spark the interest of your target audience. And again, back to the YouTube video, that's a low budget way to promote the event. You can you can pretty much use a cheap background in order to set the mood for the event or whatever. It doesn't have to be anywhere fancy. You don't have to pay for a set. You can either use a video camera, a smartphone, a computer in order to create the video. So that's another pretty much free way to promote the event. Also, you should have a online registration prior to the event. This is an easy way for people to sign up to attend the event. This is pretty much like a modern day RSVP. Instead of having to mail back an invite that they received in the mail, they could just go online and register and let you know if they'll be bringing a guest. So therefore, you can forecast the numbers of how many people will be attending the event. Also, there should be a bonus for those, well, if you want your attendees to purchase tickets, there should be a bonus if they purchase their tickets ahead of time. Like cheaper tickets, or they get a free ticket for their guest. That's a good way to get people to come out to the event also. You also, at this time, when planning the event, you want to stay in touch with your client. Just let them know what you've been doing and how far you've come along, and just ask them if they've changed their mind about, any of the things that you guys discussed before. That's very important because you don't want the client to be unhappy at the event or while planning the event or post event, because that could be bad for your business. You also want to, if you want to promote your event even more, you should offer incentives to partners to promote your event. This can be either radio or either the bloggers that live in your area. You can offer incentives to them so they can create a buzz about the event. This can be done by sending them a press release of the event going on, or just simply an email. They also can receive exposure at your event for publicizing it. So this is pretty much a win-win situation. Also, you need to begin planning on if you need the speaker, if you need a master of ceremony or a speaker at the event. You also need to look into catering. If you may need a caterer, a DJ, anything like that, and also security. This is time to knock this out probably a week or two prior to the event. And you should also have a deadline for planning also. You can't plan 2 days prior to the event. That doesn't work out. That will probably lead to your event being unsuccessful. I say about a week prior to the event, you need to start finalizing things, talking to the owners of the venue of where the event will be held. Also, talking to the caterers, making sure everything will be done on time. Talking to the speaker, making sure they have adequate transportation, along with the master of ceremony, making sure they have adequate transportation to the event, trying to see if they need a ride to the event. If the speaker is coming from out of town, you need to help them arrange hotel reservations or whatnot, just things like that. They need to be handled by probably either the team leader or the assistant to the team leader. Okay. Finally, we get to the big day, the execution day. On this day, you should be prepared for anything. Anything could happen. So be prepared for the worst. I say before the event even happens, just create a list of things that could go wrong and have at least two backup plans of what you could do to prevent these things from happening, or not really even preventing them from happening, but making it obvious to your guests. You don't want your guests to know that you've lost control of a situation or that you don't know how to handle a situation. You also want to communicate with your staff. You want to just make sure all your staff are in position. They know what they're supposed to be doing this day. You want to make sure they show up first of all. Make sure they're there ahead of time, hours before the event even begins. They need to be dressed and ready. And just like you, they need to be prepared for what could go wrong in that the specific area that they're delegated to handle. You just want to make sure the event runs as planned. Have your checklist with you to make sure everything is right. The food comes out on time, the lighting is perfect, the correct music is being played, and just making sure that everyone is happy there. And also, when it comes to things like parking or um, signs for guests to follow in order to get to the venue, you want to discuss that with the staff of the venue that the event is being held. You want to make sure that they see anyone that may look like they're attending the event. They want to communicate with them and be courteous to them and make sure the guests get to the event on time, that they're not held up because they don't know, they're not sure where to go. So we just want to make sure you're in contact with the venue staff also. Having accessible parking is very important for this event. It should be close to the location. Your guests shouldn't have to walk very far in order to get to the venue. Also, if they're like delivery trucks or caterers or any special equipment, you want to make sure that equipment can get in the door smoothly without the guests noticing. And they also need to be on time as well before the event starts. They also need to know where to unload their equipment as well. And also, if there are any, or if there's anything that goes wrong, you need to be ready. As a leader, you need to be ready to lend a hand to fill in any gaps. Planning ahead is a great formula for success, but sometimes it's not enough. The unexpected usually always comes up. This applies to the catering or printing. Sometimes your programs aren't printed in time, and just things like that. You don't have enough programs for the guests. Weather sometimes plays an effect when having an event. If you're having an outside event, you definitely need to have a backup plan for where another place where the event can be held. Sometimes this could make your guests late. So you also need to anticipate guests being late if the weather is bad. So you may want to push the time back a little bit just so you can give your guests enough time to get there. It'll also be smart to send out a tweet or something just letting the guests know that the event will go on. So let them know if you have to change the event or change the time or change the location of the event. That'll be important for the guests to know. And when the event is over, you're wondering how you did, and you're wondering if your event was a success. So I suggest that you go through your checklist. You make sure everything was done correctly and on time. And you also can follow up with your client to see if they were satisfied with the event. Get their feelings and their feedback on the event. That's very important. I think the most important way to determine if an event was successful is to collect feedback from the participants. That can be your staff or the people that attended. And also you can create an evaluation handout form. This can be given to your staff or this can be given to the attendees. I don't think you should give them paper handouts. I think this should be maybe something that can be done online, an anonymous, an anonymous survey of the event that can be done after the event. I think that's a positive way to get honest information from the guests. In order to get the right information that you need in order to make your next event successful, you should make the evaluation form anonymous and short. And also, another way to get feedback on the event is by checking social media. You can just go to the hashtag that you were using to promote the event. Just click on that on Twitter, and then you can go back to see if anyone has made any comments about your event. If they tweeted while the event was going on, this can give you an idea or if your guests had a great time at the event, and if you were successful at planning the event for the client. This is important for you as an event planner, for your career, and for your business. So hopefully you'll be able to accomplish everything you set out to do when planning the event, and your client will be satisfied when the event is over. Bill Cosby says, in order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. I think those are wise words to go by as a event planner or a PR professional. Thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Tanisha Moore, and I hope you enjoyed my webinar.